This is your host, Gabe Morales, coming back at you with another informative episode, this time on what I feel are the top 10 Aryan Brotherhood members of all time. I'll start off with Barry the Red Baron / Spud Mills. Let me straight right off. For a lot more information on this individual, you can see the biography channel segment called The Baron of the Brotherhood that I personally appeared in. Barry Mills was born in Oregon on August 26, 1948, but was raised in the Santa Rosa area of California, located in Northern California. He was known to white cons throughout the United States as a legend. As a young man, he was arrested in the summer of 1967 at a bus stop in Ventura, California, and held for transfer to Sonoma County, where Santa Rosa is located, due to an arrest warrant for grand theft auto. December of that year, he was denied a request for probation and held at the Sonoma County Jail. On January 29, 1968, he and another inmate escaped from a Sonoma County honor farm. He was arrested in Windsor, California a few weeks later and held on an escape without force charge. About a month later, he was sentenced to serve 6 months on auto theft with 1 year and 1 day in state prison due to the escape charge. He was then sent to the Vacaville Reception Center, located not far from where he grew up. Mills was finally released in March 1969 from the California Training Facility in Soledad. This was approximately 2 weeks after the 1970 Soledad incident, whereby 3 black inmates were killed during a fight with the Aryan Brotherhood. Mills and his crime partner, William Hackworth, were arrested for robbing a Stewart's Point convenience store located off Coastal Highway 1, which netted them approximately $775. Hackworth rolled on Mills, who was sentenced to do 5 years in prison. Mills then killed black inmate Charles White at San Quentin soon after he arrived in 1970, because White allegedly disrespected him during his prior prison stint at Soledad. Some accuse the murder of being a setup, as White was placed very near Mills' cell and left unsupervised. In July 1972, NF member Jesse Bozo Castro Renteria was killed by Mills on behalf of the Mexican Mafia in the LA County Jail. Mills is also credited with the killing of inmate Garland Berry at San Quentin in 1977, but he was never convicted of it and was released at the end of the year. Mills was sent back to prison in 1978, but this time to the Federal Bureau of Prisons for bank robbery. In June of 1978, Mills was sentenced to serve 20 years in prison for his role in the plotting of a Fresno bank robbery. Mills immediately decided to make a big name for himself in the BOP, as he had already done in CDC with guys like his old crime partner, Dan Cavanaugh. On May 20th, 1979, Mills killed inmate John Marsloff at the BOP Atlanta. The hit was ordered by fellow AB Terrible Tommy Silverstein because Marsloff had burned Tommy prior. Marsloff was nearly decapitated in a prison yard restroom by Mills, who was backed up by the AB Standing Holiday. Mills also ordered the hit of Richard Rhino Anderson, who was shanked in the Orange County Jail on May 24, 1983, by an AB associate named Rick Rose. Just weeks after the AB killed 2 correction officers at the Marion prison in the BOP, Mills ordered that the attempted murder of Rhino was not enough and that he was to be hit again. Rhino Anderson was killed by AB members John Greshner and associate Ronnie Joe Criswell at the BOP in Leavenworth on October 26, 1983. Mills continued to stay active as an AB shot caller in the 1980s in federal custody and became a member of the Federal Commission. In 1995, Mills mailed a letter to female associate Shirley Crowder, asking her to give the phone number of another female associate, Muddy Folks, to Jeff Fort, who was the leader of El Rookin's gang out of Chicago. This was believed to be part of a criminal scam. So while the Aryan Brotherhood generally does not like blacks, they will sometimes do business with them, even with guys like the BGF and Doc Holliday. A couple of years later, AB Ronald Renegade Yandell wrote to Patty Yandell and asked to have folks tell Mills that the ABs were ready to go with war with the DC Blacks. You see, DC Blacks were competitors with the Black Guerrilla family, which was active in Maryland, very close to Washington, D.C. As a result of all of Barry Mills' activities, he was housed at the new Supermax prison in the BOP located in Florence, Colorado. I communicated with the warden who worked there at that time, and he told me he actually was very relieved that Mills caused no problems while he's housed at the ADX. And Barry the Red Baron Mills died peacefully on July 8, 2018, at the age of 69 years old. Tyler Davis Bingham, also known as TDB or the Hulk due to his large size, like other ABs, wanted to be somebody in a world full of mostly nobodies. He was born on August 14, 1947, in Fresno, California. By 1965, TDB managed the Iron World Gym in Sacramento, California. He was sent to San Quentin in the late 1960s, where he killed inmate Harvey Fortnier and did other stabbings, with assistance of guys like Dickie Bird Murray on inmate Peter Pappas. In 1971, TDB and fellow AB Blinky Williamson were accused of killing a black inmate in San Quentin. He was transferred to Folsom Prison, where in 1973, he and AB member Bulldog Ladd were charged with killing Nasty Jack Balchidler. TDB ended up paroling and robbed a bank in Stockton, California for approximately $9,000. He continued committing robberies and was soon caught and arrested in 1973, whereby he was sent to the federal BOP. But amazingly, he paroled after about 2 years. In 1976, Bingham returned to pulling bank robberies and was arrested yet again, but this time ordered to serve a 20-year sentence, and immediately hooked up with BOP prisoner Barry Mills, who had also been sent to the federal system. In 1985, TDB and Richard Burt stabbed an outlaw motorcycle gang member named Gary Evilsizer over 10 times at Marion. The outlaws were known to be enemies of the Hells Angels, and it's suspected that the Hells Angels hired them to do the hit. Bingham was made an AB commission member in 1985 and was very instrumental in declaring war on the DC blacks in 1997. TDB is still locked up at the ADX. Thomas Edward Silverstein was an AB figure for over 40 years and was born on February 4th, 1952 in Los Angeles County. He claimed Long Beach, also known as Longo. In 1971, when he was only 19, he was sent to San Quentin Prison for armed robbery, where he was sponsored into the AB by leaders Moose Forbes and Spots Berg. He paroled 4 years later, but was soon picked up in Long Beach for another robbery and sent to the United States prison at Leavenworth. He was accused and convicted of claiming his first body by killing Danny Atwell in 1981 because he refused to mule dope in for the gang. The case was overturned on appeal in 1985. On September 24th, 1982, Washington, D.C. black shot caller Raymond Cadillac Smith tried to stab and shoot Silverstein with zip guns when they were both housed at Marion. 3 days later, Silverstein and Clayton Fountain cut themselves out of an exercise cage to kill Cadillac, stabbing him over 60 times. In retaliation, on December 9, 1982, the D.C. blacks killed AB member Neil Baumgarten as revenge for the death of Cadillac. These brutal killings were all considered part of the war with D.C. blacks. As I mentioned in previous episodes, for many years, the ABs did not have a lot of problems with staff. In fact, many convicts considered that they were favored by staff, especially Caucasian ones, as enforcers to keep the minority inmates in line. Nevertheless, staff assaults by ABs were low until the late 1970s and early 80s, when they decided that they were no longer given favoritism. On October 6, 1983, Silverstein killed Correctional Officer Merle Klutz at the BOP in Marion, allegedly for disrespecting Tommy after seizing some of his art supplies. Silverstein was known to love to draw and was, in fact, a very good artist. As staff responded to that homicide, inmate Clayton Fountain killed CO Robert Hofferman, allegedly because he didn't want Tommy to have a higher body count than he. In 1984, Silverstein was shipped to the USP Atlanta, but was transferred a few years later due to the 1987 Cuban riot at Leavenworth, which destroyed a lot of the facility. He was then moved to the United States prison at Leavenworth and held in what was called the Hannibal Lecter Room, a security housing unit that was designed specifically for him, that isolated him away from any other inmates until he was pulled out during the 2002 AB RICO trial. Whenever he came out, he was surrounded by at least 8 officers. Silverstein had previously been considered AAB commission member in the federal system, but after he was moved to the United States prison at Leavenworth in 1987, he was out of circulation for all intents and purposes and replaced by Big Mac. Thomas Edward Silverstein died on May 11, 2019, of reported heart failure. Red Mahoney confirmed as the co-founder of the AB in 1967 and was from Bakersfield, California. While there is no hard proof they were distinct or highly organized pre-AB groups, California Department of Corrections staff called white groups by various names, such as the Diamond Tooth Gang, the Bluebirds, the Nazis, and finally the Aryan Brotherhood. The AB started in San Quentin after a white inmate named Robert Halderman was killed by black inmates. And per minority inmates, they were sometimes favored by the guards. Now, Red was Irish, and so he adopted the shamrock as one of the AB symbols. According to prison expert Brian Perry, in order to be a bona fide AB, you must have the rock. Red was later murdered under a fellow AB member, Wendell Blue Norris, who considered Red to be a possible threat to his power. This murder occurred in the late 1970s and is said to have been done by future AB General John Youngster Stinson. Mahoney was baited by Robert Newark Crane's wife, and AB Frank Ruapali and Norris's wife Carol are said to have helped bury Mahoney's body. Later, Ruapali gave up the body to police and rolled on the gang. Wendell Blue Norris was born to Doris Pearl White, and his father was Harvey Richard Norris, and he was born in Eureka, Texas on November 23rd, 1945. He was called Blue because he had so much tattoo ink on his skin that he looked to be the color blue. Norris married Carol Lynn Adams, and they had 2 children, Tammy, who was born in 1965 and passed in 1997, and Junior, who was born in 1978 in Vallejo, California, and passed in 2005. Norris became a member of the AB at San Quentin, as seen in this picture, with several of the early AB heavyweights. He was later moved to Folsom Prison, where he ruled and was very close to Mexican Mafia members, as seen in this picture. Norris was a big dope dealer on the streets and rose to power quickly within the system as he continued to deal. Bobby Davis was a notorious inmate involved in the April 1970 murder of 4 California Highway Patrol officers near Newhall, California. And on June 4th, 1977, he gave up a plot whereby Old Blue and his supporters smuggled in a Walter P38 9mm pistol and multiple rounds of ammunition stored in Davis' cell in order to kill snitches, blacks, and guards. In 1983, Norris attempted to escape from the Solano County Jail with a .22 caliber pistol keistered in his rectum. Norris also had a plot to blow up the license plate factory at Old Folsom Prison with dynamite. In the early 1980s, Bobby New York Crane, Robert Blinky Griffin, and Wendell Blue Norris were all on the AB commission. But Norris declared himself to be the sole general, which caused a bloody war within the organization by 1987. Blue was very angry in his feud with fellow AB Commissioner Griffin in particular, and claimed he dissolved the AB commission and that he was now the sole general in charge, and anybody who objected to it would be placed on the AB hit list. He was escorted to New Folsom Prison in 1987 by me, along with his bodyguard Art Ox Rufo, and they immediately caused trouble. When I escorted Blue and Ox, they had large clear plastic bags full of their legal material. In one of those bags was a smaller bag of Pruno. One of the older guards pulled out a pen and popped it inside Blue's legal work, which I'm sure destroyed a lot of it. I watched this in horror as I was the one carrying the property and knew that I would immediately be blamed. Later, the AB planted a homemade bomb in New Folsom B1 unit, which had many of their members, including Blue. I recall there being a brown paper bag that I saw passed out onto the tier. As a new fish cop, I figured I'd make a bust. It was probably contraband, but a more veteran officer ran over and kicked it against the wall where it blew up. The bomb was made of a plastic deodorant canister packed with shrapnel made out of inmate shirt snaps, and the gunpowder was broken up matches as an explosive, and the wick was toilet paper with urine on it to make it burn better. Now, it probably wouldn't have killed me, but it would have put my eyes out. In June 1987, AB member Art Rufo, Blue Sully, was shot in the hip by CO David Pitts after Rufo attacked a blood pyro inmate named Adrian Lloyd. Paul Cornfred Schneider, who hailed from Washington State, also attacked another black inmate. These were all parts of what was called Hell Week, a series of attacks in New Folsom Prison ordered by Blue. As retaliation for the shooting of Rufo, Cornfred Schneider made his bones as an AB on July 7, 1987, by stabbing CO throat during a strip search. A jury later failed to convict Schneider of that assault charge, but did convict him on possession of a weapon. Meanwhile, a shotgun blast shattered the window of Pitt's pickup outside of the gates, which police called an ordered hit by AB members due to his shooting of Rufo. By 1990, Old Blue debriefed and was escorted once again into New Folsom Violence Control Unit in 1992 by me. I remember when I put him in the unit at the section door, he yelled out, "CDC did me wrong, brothers." Now, normally a convict would be welcomed by a loud cheer by his gang when he came in, but Blue was met by complete silence. you could have heard a pin drop. In February 1996, his crime partner, Art Rufo, was strangled to death by his cellmate, Brian Hilley, who was a Navy associate at Pelican Bay. Blue had become very depressed after spending years in prison and years of heroin addiction and his fall from power and disgrace from a prison gang he committed his whole life to. And he committed suicide by self-inflicted stab wounds in his chest just over the heart when he was housed at Calipatria Prison on April 7, 2003. Contrary to rumors, Norris did not disembowel himself, and there's no indication that it was a hit. But there was a full body cavity autopsy that might have made it look like he disemboweled himself. He was buried next to his father, Harvey Richard Norris. That concludes part 1 of the top 10 Aryan Brotherhood members of all time. Part 2 will follow soon on this channel. Thanks for watching.